Ambassador Schieb, this morning we spoke a lot about European sovereignty. We spoke a lot about the needed changes in the structure of the United Nations. And when I was in school, I was told that Germany was somewhat a problem. What to do with Germany in the context of the multilateral system, and especially the seat in the Permanent Council. And more I believe that Germany is not part of the problem, but part of the solution, of the way to transform the United Nations in something more effective. And the very strong positions of Angela Merkel about multilateralism and the way your country sees the development of international relations is definitely going in the right direction to transform this institution and to make maybe the 18th anniversary much more efficient in the way to solve problems that the international community is facing today. Ambassador Schieb, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, I'm happy to be here. Indeed, we are trying to be part of the solution and not the problem. I'm really pleased to be here and mark the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And if I may, I will say that I am a dedicated multilateralist. I have worked at our mission in New York to the United Nations from 2014 to 2018. I was head of the political section, the so-called political coordinator. First, I would like to start with a few general remarks on where Germany was coming from. With the signing of the UN Charter in San Francisco, right after the catastrophe of World War II, after the tragic failure of the League of Nations before, wise political leaders embarked on one of the most significant and courageous projects of mankind. From the perspective of my country, Germany, that had unleashed that horrible war, its crimes, the most horrendous of them being the Holocaust, the main lesson of it was never again. War and crimes against humanity must never again arise from German soil. This is and will always be an immovable core of German foreign policy. The consequence of this overarching principle is our advocacy for a strong and united Europe, for human rights as a universal expression of human dignity, for rules-based international cooperation, in short, for multilateralism, and for the United Nations. The European Union supports the United Nations to advance this same purpose, peace and human dignity, driven by our firm belief in a multilateral approach based on the principles of global solidarity and global responsibility. 75 years after the founding, the United Nations have a proven track record in saving lives, generating economic and social progress, and avoiding another descent into world war. However, we are aware that international institutions need political backing and cannot be taken for granted. This was the lesson from the tragic failure of the League of Nations, that was not able to withstand the storm of nationalism and racism unleashed in Europe, leading to World War II. If we want to uphold the multilateral order, we have to invest in it. We have to nurture it every day, particularly when the sand starts shifting under the foundations, when its legitimacy is questioned and the support it needs is denied. The rules-based international order that has developed over the past 75 years has produced freedom and prosperity like never before in human history. The UN are at the core of this order, and a strong UN is needed to find effective responses also to today's common challenges. If I may, since this is where I have the most kind of personal experience from when it comes to the UN, I would briefly like to focus on the UN Security Council, being aware that the UN is much more than the Security Council. The reform of the United Nations is more than a reform of a definitely needed reform of the Security Council. The Security Council has a pivotal role in safeguarding peace and security. It has a central role to play in showing the value of international cooperation. Its functioning is essential for the UN's overall reputation. However, the crises in Syria or Libya, and I myself have personally witnessed this situation, the lack of progress in New York, the lack of progress in the Middle East peace process and elsewhere have shaken faith in the potential of the international community to deliver solutions. We need urgently to do what we can to keep the Council relevant, effective and credible. And this is why also a reform of the Security Council is needed. And the problem is that the vast majority of UN members agree on the necessity to reform the Security Council. However, there is a lot of disagreement when it comes to the question how the new Security Council should look like, etc., etc. This is well known, and this is an ongoing process. And I have to say, personally, I'm not too optimistic that we're going to make a lot of progress in these so-called intergovernmental negotiations. But we need to ensure continued authority and legitimacy of the Council at the heart of our multilateral order for peace and security. And this is a huge, huge challenge. But it's not only about institutional reform, it's also about innovation. And in this context, I would briefly like to mention the Alliance for Multilateralism. I think my French colleague mentioned this this morning in the Ungar week this week, on Friday, the 29th of September. The German and the French foreign ministers invited the so-called Alliance for Multilateralism for a meeting. Talking about innovation, and this is also something which is controversially discussed also among the UN Security Council members. Innovation is needed when it comes to dealing with emerging threats to international peace and security. You need to advance a more preventive agenda, not only to react, but to prevent crises, conflicts from breaking out. So this is why we need to look beyond immediate crises, do more on crisis prevention to address catalysts of conflict, such as the effects of climate change and also threats to global health, like the current COVID-19 pandemic. We need to strengthen the international health architecture and the relevant bodies, first and foremost the WHO. This is the major lesson of COVID-19. That is why Germany, in its capacity of current being the EU Council presidency, and the EU are strong allies in the struggle for adequate financing of the WHO and the United Church for a vaccine to be at universal disposal. Now, in conclusion, on a different subject, one brief remark on a more security-related issue. I would like to underline respect and appreciation for Serbia's very constructive and successful role in the United Nations and EU-led peace missions, such as the mission UNIFIL in Lebanon, and we hope we take it that the recent government decision does not jeopardize Serbia's participation in these missions. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I can say Germany is convinced we have never needed truly United Nations more than we do today. Thank you.
If I just make a short comment on that, you say that the United Nations are extremely needed today, and I will say in European that Germany is very much needed in Europe today to contribute to the global stability of our continent and that way to the stability of the world. So, Mr.